Hey guys, it's Bina, and in today's video, we're gonna show you how to exactly do a loot filter with my filter base. So basically with my Bina's master loot filter, I have been asked this 1,000 times in chat as to how to actually set this up, even though I have all the instructions in my spreadsheet, which is gonna be down in the description below. I'm gonna go over step by step everything you need to do if you have a build planner and you want to use Bina's master filter, how you can input all of the stats to be able to use it properly. So let's go over it right now. So say for example, right, on Maxwell, we have our loot filters, right? There is a loot filter. If you want to use these loot filter, please do so, and I recommend doing so. But there's a lot of people that just want to use an actual, like a different filter, and they want to mess around with their filter. Maybe they feel that they're seeing too many items, but I do recommend, if you're just, a player that grabs a build guide and wants to just slap a loot filter on and not have anything to do with it, just go into the Circle of Fortune filter if you're a Circle of Fortune, or Merchant's Guild if you are Merchant's Guild. Now, that being said, this video is for you guys that want to go a little bit deeper, right? And want to have a more strict filter. How can you do so with any planner whatsoever, any build? How to do so with this filter template. So, first of all items have 4 stats, right? So you will look at these stats and you will put the stats that you need to implement in the filter in the correct slots. There are 8 places, there are 8 rules that has add wanted affixes in their description. And whenever I update the loot filter, I will add the date that I last updated it. And so you can download always the latest version. Although if you download the latest version, you have to re-put the stats. So I always put in the change log exactly what I changed, so you can do it yourself if you know a bit more of how the filter works. So the first thing you do, you go down here, right? So this can be used also for leveling. So the first thing you want to do is leveling campaign gear, add wanted damage affixes. This is because the defensive affixes for the campaign have already been selected. So I would go into this one. For example, this is the explosive ballista falconer. So I would go over and okay, dexterity is my offensive affixes. Here I have vitality. If you want vitality, you could put it there as well. Dexterity, acid flask, fire damage, minion damage, throwing attack speed, minus throwing attack mana cost. All of these stats I will put there, and those will be done, right? So these are going to show for leveling in the campaign before level 35. Although this is not an explosive ballista, is not technically a build guide that you can level with, because you need minus 8 mana cost for that specific version for the traps to cost 0 mana. I will do it anyways here just because I want to show exactly how it's done, right? So we have already a couple of stats that are selected. These you actually don't look at in any way, right? It's just going to be the movement speed is going to be selected, the cooldown, some basic resistances and health. So all of these, you don't have to touch anything. You just do what the instructions give you. So I'm going to be adding dexterity. I'm going to be adding throwing damage and minus mana cost. I'm going to be going with throwing attack speed, I believe we have here. Yes. So I'm just actually looking at what stats I have here and adding them. Level of acid flask. I'm going to put level of acid flask, right? Class specific rogue, level of acid flask. We have crit multi. We have critical strike chance. We have, so that's pretty much it, I think. For the offensive stats, no, we have plus level of ballista as well, right? Level of ballista. Minion damage. Minion damage. What else we want to see? So on this build guide, I have a weapon as a unique. So I actually don't want to see any other stats, right? Because I assume that you have this. I assume you have this staff. If you have this staff, then you will be able to reach minus 8 mana cost with both your rings, right? Without any exalteds. So if you had a weapon, you would deselect the weapon types that you want, and you would deselect, for example, I don't know, a one-handed sword, a scepter, whatever the build guide is telling you or the planner is telling you he's equipping, right? Those you would deselect. But now we don't have that, so I'm not doing this right now. So I pretty much inputted all the stats that I wanted. So that is pretty good. We're going to go to the next one. So early monolith idols, this you don't have to do anything with it. Early build idols, add wanted affixes. Okay, so I'm looking at my planner. My planner has idols. What are the idols that the build is going to be using? Health, LA res, health, LA res. These are already shown in the important stats, but you could put them there in the early build idols as well. So we're going to do it right now. And then bow physical damage for Ballista, increase bow critical strike chance. We're going to put all of this in the rule. Okay, so add wanted affixes. It already selects the types. The only types that are selected are the ones that are for the class-specific idols. So all the other ones are going to be in the early monolith idol rule, and you don't have to put them there. So it's only the ones that are for your class, for your build, right? So we're going to put health. It's called vigorous, right? It was vigorous. It was elemental res. It was also bow damage for Ballista. So we put them here. Idols. Be sure not to like misclick into a class specific or offensive. It always has to be for the idols. There's a section for idols only affixes, because you can find increased health in the idol affixes or increased health in the just general health affix as well, right? This one here. So that is pretty much done for the idols that are in the build guide. If there are other recommended idols in the build guide, for example, you would want shared critical strike multiplier, you could put them here, right? So you add your wanted affixes for your idols, and these are going to show you the early idols that only have one of these stats on the item. So you put this here. Same for mono gear. So added mono gear, add wanted affixes for early monolith gear. So I have 3 rules, one that stops at 65, and one that is a little bit stricter that goes up to 85. So we're going to put all of the stats that we put in the leveling campaign gear, all of these stats, we're going to put the same ones in here, right? So we're going to have dexterity. We're going to have minion damage. We're going to have minion damage. And now make sure if you're using one of the actual build guides, for example, we have multiple different setups, right? Advanced, endgame, best in slot. Even for explosive Ballista, I have a DPS variant. So these stats might be different. If you want to find these one as well, put them in the filter. So if you don't want to find that though, and you just want to stick to the endgame gear or stick to the best in slot gear, then just put these stats that you actually want for your build. So I'm gonna go over them, right? Advanced, it's pretty much all the same stuff. Dexterity, fire, minion damage, blah, blah, blah. Endgame, is it a little bit different? It swaps to cold. This build swaps to cold. So maybe at some point, you want to change in your filter. Oh, I want to unclick fire, and I just want to put cold. But this is mainly specific for explosive Ballista because of the setup I use with the Apogee sword. And then this one also has a DPS variant, but I will put all of these in this example that I do. So we're going for the same things here. We went for dexterity, minion damage. We want acid flask. So not here. Class specific level of acid flask. We're going to go for fire damage. Did I put this here? I did not. So we're going to fire damage, throwing. You want throwing attack speed and throwing reduced mana cost. What else is there? I'm looking. Okay, we got pretty much everything. So that's good. Now I go to the endgame section. Endgame, is there anything different? We have throwing attack speed. We have this, we have that. Oh, you might also want to put the stats that are on the suffixes here, because as you notice, I don't say add only damage affixes, add wanted affixes, right? So you will look at the stats also in the suffixes for the slots, right? So for example, on here, that would be something like endurance, crit avoidance, poison res, right? Health is already there. Chance to apply frailty, chance to shred armor. These things you will want to put, right? If you want to find them. If you think you're finding too much gear, that might be it, but it's good, I think, for a newer player to actually see some loot rather than see one item drop every 5 maps, for example. Like, looking at loot will also teach you about the game and teach you about the items that you are finding. So you will go endurance. You would go with crit avoidance. So I'm looking, okay, crit avoidance I already have here because I prioritize giving you guys crit avoidance so that you don't get one shot every so often, right? So poison res. We already have health. We already have frailty. We might put frailty here. Chance of frailty on hit. You might want to have shred armor. Chance to shred armor on hit. And that's pretty much it. Okay, now I'm going through the endgame gear. Endgame gear has pretty much all the same stuff. I don't see any new stats, so that's good, right? And go in the best in slot setup. Best in slot has all the same stats. And then I'll go into the DPS variant. Oh, DPS variant has mana regen. Maybe I'll want to go there. But at the same time, why would you put the DPS endgame variant that is like, you need very, very specific gear in your early monos rules? You might not need this. So it's up to you. I won't put it here, but it's up to you. If you want to see the endgame variant for the early mono gear, you could put it there. I am not going to do it. So that is pretty much all the stats, right? So you do this step, add wanted affixes. You do this step and you repeat it for all of these 3 steps, right? We're going to do it. We're going to go dexterity. We're going to go minion damage. We're going to go, well, we're swapping to cold, right? We're swapping to cold. So at some point you will swap to cold. So let's go cold damage. Let's go with throwing. So we got throwing attack speed, throwing attack reduced mana cost. We also have, we already have dexterity. You want to have some shred. You want to have some frailty. Is there something else? I think we covered everything. Not true. Poison res, endurance, right? Keep in mind, the resistances that you put there, they are based on the planner, and the planner is made so that your resistances are capped in a certain way, but it might change from person to person, your setup and what gear you find. If you find a good piece of gear with a certain type of resistance, you might want to mix and match with your idols, with your pieces of gear, so that you have the cap of 75% resistances across the board. So that's pretty good. Throwing attack speed I already have. Okay, this is good. We have everything here. Boom. Add wanted affixes. Early mono gear 65. Done. Now, we're going to repeat this process in the early mono gear 85. Dexterity. Oops. Dexterity. We're going to put minion damage. We're going to put cold damage. We have some throwing stuff. Attack speed, mana cost. We have endurance. Poison res. And what else? Am I missing something? I think I have shred. And frailty. Right? That should cover everything. And now if you want the... Now that's a rule that is more... It goes up to level 85. So maybe on this one I will add mana regen, right? Maybe on this one I will add some mana regen for the DPS variant. Maybe we want to start looking for some gear for that. Okay, so we have pretty much everything. Now, we're going up and up. Okay, is there another rule I need to change? Okay, there's no rule. There's no rule. All of these are idle slots. They are idle rules that have 2 good rolls for every build that we have on max roll. And I keep updating this as shown. Last update was February 24. High value Primalist Rogue, Sentinel Acolyte Mage. So very high value idols that will have good selling price on the market. Show all exalted until level 80. I think level 80 is a pretty good spot to stop showing exalted. Especially if this is your first character that you're leveling. If this is like your second, third, or fourth character, and you already have like a good bunch of exalteds, or you can buy stuff off of the market, then you might want to unclick this one and only show the exalteds that have a high value for you and the ones you're looking for, right? So tier 6 exalted I'm looking for, and high value affixes. Add wanted affixes. Which one do you want to see? For example, right now on the market, dexterity is extremely good. Dexterity is selling like crazy. If you're MG, you want to go with dexterity, absolutely for sure. Okay. I think mana regen might mana regen, not this one. This one here. I think this one sells pretty good as well. Crit multi sells pretty good as well. So we're gonna put crit multiplier here. So those might be some generic ones that you might want to see. I think minus throwing mana cost might also be good, or throwing attack speed. So these you might want to include in your planners, in your filters for just generally good affixes. But more specifically to your build now, you're looking at the build. Okay, what does the build need? Okay, the planner is showing increased throwing attack speed. We already have it. It's showing attack speed. It's showing increased health. That's already always added in the filter. And minus mana cost. Okay. So it's showing all the same things that I have, because the market right now is pretty much tailored towards, I mean, everyone's looking for these pieces of gear. So obviously these are going to be more expensive, and these are going to be the ones that anyone should have in their planner. So that's what you want to do with this. DPS variant, what is it? Dexterity, dexterity, dexterity. There's some mana regen. You could also add crit avoidance. Crit avoidance has quite good value, since it's actual crit multiplier for, it's a crit multi for your minions, right? So let's put this like this. If you want to look at some other ones, you can certainly check some other ones if you find that, okay, this one is really good, this one is really good as well, and I want to find this tier 6 exalted item. Okay, so that's good. We have all of these. Boom, boom, boom. Now, if you want to have something like hide weapon types, I don't want to see. Here, any weapon that is selected, you will never see anything that is tier 6 and below. You will only see the tier 7s. So if you want to see tier 6s, for example, some quivers with dexterity, you might want to see. Do you want to see some tier 6 shields? Maybe not. Offhand catalyst? I don't know. Cast speed, something like that, right? You might want to see crit multi offhand catalyst with tier 6 crit multi. Maybe you want to see this. So maybe you uncheck this one. But this is only going to show the tier 6s that you have selected beforehand in the other rule. Okay? So bows right now, pretty meta. One-handed swords, really good as well. If you find one-handed swords with some minion stats. Oh, okay, I forgot. We need some minion stats now, right? In the tier 6s, I forgot to add something. How do I do this? Well, after setting it up for the first time, you play for a little bit, right? And oh, I forgot something. Shift F, recolor tier 6 exalteds. I'm gonna add something there. I forgot to add the minion affixes for penetration, or minion melee and bow damage, minion spell and bow damage, minion melee and spell damage. Maybe I want to see these ones, right? Maybe I want a certain damage types. Cold penetration, fire penetration with the minions. Maybe I want to see these as tier 6s as well. So you select the ones that you want, right? Update. And then okay, we were in the weapon selection. Two-handed weapon. Do you want to see two-handed axe with tier 6s or swords? Okay, this is up to you, but this is what I would do for now, right? Maybe one-handed swords and daggers. Maybe these with melee attack speed, so you could put melee attack speed there, right? So let's go like this. Boom, boom. Maybe wands with crit multi tier 6. Up to you guys, okay? So let's go here. Let's add something here. I want to see melee attack speed on these weapons. Boom, tier 6, okay? So now any other weapon that is not unticked will be hidden if it's under tier 7 or if it's not a double exalted. And then crafting, removal, or shattering. Add the wanted affixes. Is there anything that you want here to find, to add to your shards to be able to craft, right? If you press F, crafting materials, there are some shards that are rarer than others. Say you want the level of dive bomb. Maybe you want damage in area with dive bomb to craft on your gear. But that is something that, you can adjust over time, and you don't really need to put anything here unless you really, really need it. Okay, so hybrid health is always good to show. I always show hybrid health because that is one stat I'm always striving to craft. You could put increased health, but like hybrid is a rare one. If you put like increased health or crit multi, these are like very common affixes. It will, you will always drop items for that, right? So I believe that it is best to only put affixes here when you need them, and then craft, and then click them off, basically. Like, keep a couple of them in your stash, in your crafting inventory. Have maybe a bag of like 50 or something, or 20 or 30. And then when you pass them all, then you put the rule again. You put the affix again there. So it's going to show multi-exalted, tier 7 exalteds, and uniques and set items. So boom, you're set. This was, while explaining, I don't know how much time this took and how long this video will be, but basically these are the only steps you have to do. Add wanted damage affixes. You add your wanted idols. You have 3 for monolith early mono gear. And then you have 1 for high value tier 6 affixes. Select your weapons, and then removal and shattering, right? So those are used to get some affixes. Say you want chance to bleed on hit with shurikens. You put this here, you use a rune of removal, and then if you have no more forging potential, then you use a rune of shattering. So that is how I use this is how you use the Bina's Master Loot Filter. And I hope you learned something today. I hope you'll be able to have a nice filter for yourself. And feel free to mess around with the Loot Filter tool. Feel free to mess around with my filter template, and just have fun with it. The rules work in a way where the rules up top overrule the bottom rules, right? The rules under them. So it goes in an order of priority, and yeah, play with it, learn it, and have fun with it. I hope you learned something today. If you like these kinds of video, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment on the channel, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.